All right, this presentation today is on the wines of Moldova, or Moldovan wines. Inspiration for this came from my love of the wine and the wine industry. I plan on entering it after I graduate. So I thought, why not study a very small country we did not touch on that has a very rich history in winemaking. Also, the creative aspect of this project, I created my own pie charts in a wine bottle, and I will show you that a little bit later, but just to make you aware. Alright, we'll start with an overview of Moldova. It's an Eastern European country. It is not in the European Union. And it's, as you can see in that picture, it's very close to the Black Sea, but it does not quite touch it. It is a landlocked country, even though I know it looks like it there, but Romania kind of wraps around down the side. There have been talks about them joining the European Union, but it's still unsure. And I think part of the reason I found was that their GDP fluctuates greatly, and I think the European Union is not quite positive about that. This year they did about last year they did about $8 billion, which is very small. If you remember, the European Union countries can have hundreds to thousands of billions of dollars in GDP, so it's pretty small. It's one of the poorest countries in Europe. I think there might be one or two that have a smaller GDP. The sectors can be divided up into services. It's about 64% of total GDP. Industry about 20%, and agriculture 16%. And agriculture is a very important part of this economy. 30% of the labor force is in the agricultural sector, and then the total population is about 3.6 million, which again is a pretty small country. Here's an example of one of my wine glass charts. As you can see here, the blue is the 16% of the agricultural GDP, green is the industrial GDP at 20%, and then the orange is service GDP at 64%. And it was cute and it was fun to do. Alright, here we'll dive a little bit more into the Moldovan agriculture. Most of the region is rolling hills. There are no mountains at all. It's a very nice area. The only problem is 57% of the land is on the slopes of hills, so some of that is very hard to cultivate. The arable land area is 1,810,000 hectares, and the viticulture land, which is just the land used to make wine and grapes, is 151,000 hectares, which is 10% of that total arable land. And as you can see in my second chart, the teal represents the land used for wine, which is actually a very large percent if you think about that one commodity utilizing that much space. Also, a little fun fact is about 70% of that wine of the vineyards is used for commercial production, and the other 30% are personal. And most villages in Moldova have their own personal vineyards. Even everyone's own house has their own vineyard next door, and they use those to produce wines for their own houses, and that's a very popular thing. It's been passed down for generations, hundreds and hundreds of years, and Moldova and some grapes that aren't found anywhere else have been passed down from families, so it's very cool and very unique to Moldova. The climate, it's perfect for wine. It's moderate continental. They have long warm periods, and they just have short cold winters, around 100 days of winter or less. Pretty sure it's less. And the latitude is interesting. I found this out. The latitude is the same as the French Bordeaux and northern Italy, which are two of the most popular wine growing regions in the world. So obviously they have that advantage of having very perfect climate for winemaking and grape growing. And last fact is there's extremely fertile soil. That's not really an issue they face day to day. Alright, get more into winemaking in Moldova. Grapes have been found in this region dating 24 million years ago, studying fossils, and of course, there could be even more before that. And what I found very interesting was the first signs of winemaking ever were found along the Black Sea. And, you know, as I mentioned earlier, Moldova is right there in that region. So it's very cool, you know, winemaking's been happening there at least 5,000 years. And it's cool to know that was the origin of winemaking. Annual wine production for Moldova is about 124,200 tons. And although they are a very, very small country, they are the 22nd largest wine producer in the world, which is very impressive. And then I have their regions listed. Balti is the northern zone, Condru, central zone, Perkari, southeastern zone, and Kaul, the southern zone. And the southern zone, the southern zone is actually the most profitable and the one that makes the best, most popular wines. They make very sweet red wines there. But the Perkari region actually has created their own type of wine blend, and it's actually called the Perkari, and it is also one of the most famous brands from Moldova, and it's very unique to Moldova. It's not created anywhere else, so that's pretty cool. Grape and wine varieties. The grape varieties, actually only 10% are domestic and 90% are from other European areas. The domestic, like I mentioned, they have that Perkari, which is the blend, Plavia, many others, and of course those that I mentioned earlier that have been passed down from generations to generations. Very cool and very complicated long names. The European whites that are very popular, and the reds, these are all the ones you've seen and probably had before. They're found everywhere, so very cool that they grow super well in Moldova as well as those popular countries like France and Italy. Alright, the exporting wine, most of the wine that Moldova makes is exported because they do, as I mentioned, have their own domestic vineyards. So about 30%, just same as this vineyard size, about 30% stays domestic and about 70% is exported. The places it's exported most: Russia, 41%, Kazakhstan, 13%, the Ukraine, 11%, and all other countries in the world, 35%. So here I have the last wine glass chart, and as you can see, Russia, 41%. That's more than any other country, which is very cool and a lot. And also, these countries are very close to Moldova geographically, so it's pretty evident that Moldova doesn't have quite the resources to expand their exports very far, but it is nice that they do have people willing so close to buy their commodity. As we talked about when we mentioned Russia, they're trying to decrease the amount they import, so they have been decreasing their amount of Moldovan wines, and this has been a very hard hit on Moldova because the total amount of wine, there's 10% of Moldovan wine, not wording that right, out of the total wine had by the Russians, 10% is from Moldova, and that's a very large number if you compare the sizes of the country. So this could cause a heavy strain on Moldova's economy, although this has been happening a few years and it hasn't too much yet. I think they saw a loss of about 6 million in that area over the past few years. Hasn't been terrible. They have had increases from other European countries. So hopefully this very unique wine industry continues to prosper in Moldova. And then yes, here's my last one. My last chart. If you can see, the green is Russia, and it's the largest area, which is crazy because it's just one country. Kazakhstan, the Ukraine, and the others are the white at the bottom. That was going in order from top to bottom. So, the summary. Moldova relies heavily on agriculture to keep their small country economically healthy. Winemaking has been a large part of this region for years. They have the perfect winemaking conditions As Moldova faces these issues with Russia cutting back on their imports, they've been looking to the rest of Europe for help to help expand not only their wine industry, but the rest of their agriculture as well. There's a picture of the wine I made, and I actually, to finish this off for you, I actually measured the milliliters and made sure that was correct for us all, so it was a very precise measurement of that. And here are my sources. All right, thank you all so much, and post any questions if you'd like.